Hello and Merry October. It's about time I shared my fall TBR, all of the books that I hope to read during this season. This is quite an ambitious stack for me, but it's still nice and fun to just curate it and set those kind of reading goals and just pre-setting those kind of seasonal, spooky, haunting, gothic energies. So without further ado, let's get into what I hope to read. I'm kind of splitting this up by category. When I was kind of curating this collection, I realized that there were so many stories surrounding vampires that they kind of just deserve their own stack. So we have vampires, gothic literature, we have classics that maybe aren't explicitly October or fall, but they might just kind of fit that seasonal energy. We have some fantasy, some dark gothic fantasy, some in between. So yeah, these are the books that I am currently reading. You probably heard me talk about them a few times, and I will definitely be talking about these a few more times because I'm just taking my sweet time with them, and that's okay. So the first one is, of course, The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I kind of deemed this as my autumnal read, kind of a book I'll be taking my time with and not define my reading for fall, but I don't know, just kind of also set the tone and be a continuous grounding piece of work to constantly go back to throughout the season. Absolutely loving it so far. I'm about 50% of the way through and have been flipping back and forth with the book and audiobook. It's said many times, but Donna Tartt, autumn really is her season, and her books are just meant to be read during autumn and winter. I just love it. So that's The Goldfinch. And then of course we have A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Pranek. I said it in my last video, but I took a little break from this, not because I wasn't liking it, but just because I was distracted with other books. So I'm definitely going to pick it back up, but I am questioning if I would like this more or if it's maybe just more of a winter type read. I don't know, something about this. It's dark gothic and obviously a sapphic retelling of Swan Lake, so I just feel like ballet season, I don't know, it really makes me think of winter, so let me know. Let's of course just go ahead and get into my stack of vampire centered stories. So we have some famous classics in here, we have some new or new-ish releases. Some of them are sprinkled a bit with horror elements, so of course I've just been saving them for this season. Some of these books I've just accumulated over the years, and so that's why I have so many physical books that I want to read. But yeah, first off, we just have to dive into, I'm sure you've seen or heard of, and that is two vampire classics, Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, and this one is edited by Carmen Maria Machado. I've been saving this one for a very specific moment. I've kind of envisioned it in my mind, but I want to have a fall, maybe closer to Halloween itself, but I want to have a little fall picnic and kind of just dedicate that to reading this. I believe it's 130 pages, maybe more or less, but I am pretty certain I'm just going to adore this. So very excited for Carmilla. And then of course, if we're reading Carmilla, we have to read Dracula by Bram Stoker properly. And this is obviously a gorgeous edition. I might not actually read this edition because it is a little bit clunky and just maybe not the most convenient to read out of. I might be listening to the audiobook, but I don't really need to say much. It's Dracula, it's autumn. We're reading a lot of vampire books this season, so continuing the kind of vampire elements, we have, I'm so excited about this one, and it's obviously really beautiful, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. We have Immortal Dark by Taija Skirma. Not only is it stunning, this has actually been high on my list of want to read, so I'm really excited to finally kind of get into it this season. It's definitely a priority read for me. The cover isn't on here for hardbacks. I just like having the covers not on, plus usually these naked hardbacks are just so beautiful. This is surrounding vampires and sisterhood. This isn't the first time I've said this, but I do like to go into most of my books blind, so that's about all I know for this story, but super excited. Next on the list for vampire reads is Lucy Undying by Kirsten White. You may know from the title, but it is a retelling about one of Dracula's first victims, whose name was Lucy. It hones in on her story and kind of her perspective and what happens. And of course, the art is just so beautiful. When the book art is this exquisite, I have to believe that the book itself is going to feel like art, at least here and there. So that's the hopes I kind of have for it. And then we have The Familiar. Obviously, I'm showing y'all details of these editions. So beautiful. I can't wait to get into this one. I feel like I've been kind of neglecting this read, but I really enjoyed Ninth House, like that duology, when I read it kind of in the autumnal season. So I just feel like this will be a good read, and I've seen pretty good reviews for it. I'm pretty sure it's a vampire. Unless I'm totally miscategorizing this, I'm pretty sure it involves vampires, but yeah, like, I'm gonna say it again, I like to go into my books blind, so some of these may need to be in the vampire kind of book section, but maybe to my surprise they will need to be. And so I'm pretty sure this is vampires, but I know it involves magical gifts kind of thing, maybe also surrounding classes, and I'm pretty sure. But anyways, next up we have some classics, translated literature, Gothic literature, and this stack is not explicitly autumnal. Maybe it just seems like, at least to me, it's meant to be read during this time, or I can just envision myself reading it during this time. Hopefully we'll get to make the time for each of them like I know they deserve. So let's go through these. First one, which in my opinion is the most alluring because of the deckled edges, but I know there's a lot of mixed opinion on those. I personally love deckled edges. I feel like it kind of just ages these books in such a beautiful way. Of course, we have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I'm sorry about my pronunciation on it. Jane Eyre, I've heard it so many times, and my twang makes me want to say Eyre. So many of them lean into that spooky, dark element, or just deserve to be shown off a little bit. It's been on so many of my curated TBRs, so I'm just gonna do it during this season. And from what I've seen, it's kind of a good time to read this, so I think I'll enjoy it even more. I've also talked about this one before, Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fauns, and Fairies by Robert Kirk, which is a little collection of stories collected from towns in, I believe, the late 17th century. But I was thinking that maybe I could read a story or some of a story, maybe not every day because we gotta keep it realistic over here, for me at least, but throughout the season of October specifically. I just feel like short stories, poetry, things like that, hearing them told, reading them during this time, maybe some candles or a fireplace lit, I just feel like that is so perfect and such a good activity to kind of wind down, maybe get more into that mood. So that's kind of what I envision with this story. I don't really have a goal to finish it, but I just think I'll enjoy it nonetheless. And it's very much leaning kind of into that idea for me of maybe like bedtime stories, or just an idea kind of like that. I picked this up not too long ago. It is Near to the Wild Heart by Clarice Lispector. Something is telling me I'm meant to read and dive into the world of Clarice Lispector during this time, from now to the end of the year at least. It's just calling to me right now. Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own. We know that this is basically if Shakespeare had an equally successful sister, I believe. I thrifted this a long while ago, and it's actually an annotated copy, which for me is such a delightful surprise. So I think this will just be an enjoyable, a short read, definitely less than 120 pages. The last one in our pile of classics, maybe Gothic literature and such, is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I couldn't deny this edition. It's so beautiful, and so therefore I feel like it kind of also just fits maybe the vibe we're going for. If we are going off judging a book by its cover, which I'm sorry, but I do. Of course I do. What I know about this mainly is that it is known to be a Gothic tale, so I just kind of think that's perfect for this time. I don't really need much more reasons as to why I would want to read it other than that. The rest of these might be miscellaneous or just kind of grouped in a very small curation of book themes or whatnot. So the next I kind of made was dark, maybe horror retellings of fairy tales. The first one is by Brom. And listen, I read Slewfoot last year. It has not left me. I love it so much. I wanted to pick it up so many times since then. I'm probably gonna reread it this year because I just love it that much. But I just had to pick up another book by Brom this October. This is The Child Theif by Brom, which is a dark and very unique, from what I've seen, retelling of Peter Pan and the Neverland. As we know, or maybe you don't know, but you should know because I think this is so cool, they illustrate their character arts. And the next kind of maybe more dark retelling we have is about our Lady Macbeth. So this is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. I will say that I have read A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid, and this is an unpopular opinion, I feel like, but I did not like it. Also, I just got a notification that one of the books that is going to be a part of this list in the end, I've been waiting for it for months on Libby, and I finally just got it, so that's perfect timing. But anyways, Study in Drowning, I don't know, I just didn't like it, and I have this really beautiful edition, but I didn't like that book, so it feels weird having it. I know there are mixed reviews surrounding this, but I have seen some kind of come through to question maybe the negativity surrounding this book, so I'm hopeful. I think I'll like it. I'm not going to deprive you of this beautiful book art, and it deserves to be seen. So there you go. Last two books on my physical TBR, we have The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. You know, some books you're just pretty certain they will be 5 stars, maybe just really definitive of the time you read them. And I've been holding on to this, but I've only seen such good things about this book, which is October. I'm gonna read it. I just feel like it'll be a hard-hitting, very enjoyable read, and I'm just gonna get swept up in it. I already know. Last one is Immortal Consequences. I originally picked this up kind of as a buddy read with one of my best friends, but she already finished it. We kind of knew that would happen. I feel like this is kind of a good time to read this. I had seen some of this author's journey on TikTok. She posted about it forever ago, so I had to pick it up when it was released. It's a magical, dark academia, kind of in between death, in between the afterlife setting. I'm interested. Next books on my fall TBR, maybe I'm reading them on my Kindle, maybe I just haven't acquired them yet, maybe they're releasing in October and November, so I'm just gonna share them kind of quickly on this screen. But I know for sure I want to read Katabasis by R.F. Kuang, with no doubt. Eldritch by Carrie Lake, Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana, The Jasad Heir by Sarah Hashim. I got a notification earlier that I finally got this book on Libby, so I'm so excited for this one. I've been wanting to read this duology for a little bit now, and I just feel like fall is such a good time to find a new fantasy series that you're addicted to, that makes you feel like you are just immersed in another world. I want to maybe pick up We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad. I've been so excited about that release, so I just see myself not being able to wait. Of course, there are some lady night type books that I feel like I'm just gonna pick up this time. The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. These aren't releasing until later, I believe, but I know I'm going to read Fallen Stars by Amani Eru as soon as that is released. It's probably one of the books I'm most excited for this year. I'm also going to read, I'm pretty sure it's called Brimstone by Callie Hart. I don't care, I'm gonna read that one. And then I think the only other one, at least that I can remember, essentially my TBR that I've curated. I'm kind of sharing all the ones that at least come to mind because I'm very much a mood reader. I know I also want to read Alchemised by Sin Lin Yu. We will just see what we have time for, really, because that's what it comes down to. That is pretty much my fall autumnal TBR. Maybe not everything, because like I said, gotta be realistic with myself, but everything I would like to kind of read during this season, subject to change. So once again, Merry October, and as always, happy reading, and I'm just so glad the season is finally upon us. So see you next time.